What if the very labels that critics slap on you, too intense, too quiet, too ambitious, were secretly raw materials for a personal brand so compelling that even those critics end up leaning in? Today, we're diving into the Stoic code that turns everyday judgment into magnetic presence. Because, make no mistake, an irresistible woman isn't born from applause. She's forged in the furnace of outside opinions, and she alone decides which flames temper her and which burn out. Ready? Let's step into the first trait. You're standing at your desk when a Slack notification pings like a pin dropped on marble. Client called you the Ice Queen on today's recap. For a split second, heat flares in your chest. But instead of scrambling to soften your image, you let Epictetus whisper, "It's not things that disturb us, but our view of them." Translation: that label is raw data. Interpretation is optional. Modern confidence psychology calls this self-concept clarity, the degree to which your self-story is coherent and internally owned. People with high clarity metabolize criticism differently. They audit, reframe, integrate, or discard. You inhale, slice the phrase Ice Queen into two parts. Ice, composure, and queen, command. Suddenly, the insult looks like a backhanded resume line. Calm under pressure, leads decisively. You jot both on a sticky note. Stick it beside your monitor. Critics just supplied your next LinkedIn headline. Weeks later, quarterly review. The same client tries a jab. She's so cold you need mittens. You smile, answer with data points. Project delivered 3 days early, 12% under budget. Your stoic poise stays steady. Co-workers notice. By meeting's end, the jabber asks you privately how you keep a cool head. The label pivots from ridicule to recruitment in 3 sentences flat. That's the Stoic judo flip. Use an opponent's momentum to redirect the outcome by 1. Capture every external label for 24 hours, compliments and criticisms. 2. Classify. Helpful feedback, personal branding fuel, irrelevant noise. 3. Convert. Rephrase each into a value statement or discard. 4. Commit the top 3 reframed traits to a 30-day self-story practice. Journal how you embodied them each night. Neuroscience backs this. Studies on narrative therapy show reframing decreases cortisol spikes and increases perceived personal agency, making you visibly calmer, which reads as irresistibly in control. Scroll culture invites you to outsource identity. Likes dictate worth, trends dictate taste. The Stoic irresistible woman reverses the pipeline. She uses platforms as billboards for her predefined values, not as focus groups. Algorithm shifts? She's stable. Comments section on fire? Still stable. Observers feel the gravitational pull of someone who doesn't twitch to every digital breeze. Remember Marcus Aurelius writing nightly to himself, turning imperial stress into philosophy. You can treat criticism like co-author notes on your manuscript. Accept edits that sharpen the plot. Reject those that change your genre. The result is a story only you could live, with editors unknowingly polishing your arc. You're at the grocery store in sweats when you bump into an ex-colleague who once called you unremarkable. Instead of ducking, you greet them, radiating relaxed confidence. Cart contents speak volumes. Quinoa, dark chocolate, a travel-size coding manual perched atop oranges. Evidence of continued growth. No speech necessary. Identity is a silent billboard read by whoever passes. People crave certainty. When they meet someone who embodies self-definition, they subconsciously seek proximity, hoping that stability will transfer. It's classic self-expansion theory. We're wired to merge with traits we admire. Your owned identity becomes a lighthouse. Ships of all kinds pivot toward the beam. Each morning, write one sentence starting with, "I am the woman who..." Keep it factual, behavior-based. I am the woman who keeps promises to herself, rather than aspirational fluff. Over time, these micro-statements carve neurological grooves deeper than any passing slur could scrape. Owning your identity is the engine, but what happens when that engine hits a pothole at full speed? Next, We'll watch how crisis calm doesn't just avoid wrecks, it turns roadside chaos into an instant fan base. Stay tuned. Picture the morning of March 14th, 2024. Wall Street opens to a sudden, bewildering plunge. A routine software update at Globex brokerage misprices thousands of high-frequency trades, vaporizing $2 billion in market cap within 10 minutes. Cable anchors talk like auctioneers, traders pound keyboards, and the Twitter hive screams, "Flash Crash 2.0. In the center of the mayhem stands Leah Ortiz, a mid-level portfolio strategist no headline writer cared about until that hour. Her team's screens flicker with red waterfalls. A junior analyst cries, "We're toast!" Everyone looks to the nearest authority, but the department head is sprinting to compliance, sweat blooming through his suit. Leah doesn't sprint. She slides off her heels, grounding, literally, and inhales for a 4-count box breath. Neuroscience calls this vagal toning. Stoics call it prososh, attention to the present. In that oxygenated pause, she remembers her checklist. Is this my fault? Unknown. Is it within my control? Client exposure is. She hits mute on the chaotic audio feed, opens a fresh spreadsheet, and isolates every client position vulnerable to the rogue algorithm. Co-workers orbit, frantic. Leah assigns quick tasks in a tone calm enough to lower their pulse, but firm enough to cut debate. 5 minutes. Positions tagged. 7. Hedges in motion. 9. Clients receive a terse but clear email. We have identified the error, shielded your assets, and will update hourly. Before CNBC can finish speculating, Leah's book is ring-fenced. Stress hormones broadcast like scent. Research from the University of Zurich, 2023, shows cortisol spikes trigger micro-expressions that others mirror subconsciously, amplifying group panic. Leah's steady breathing flips that script. Her calm becomes the new metronome, entraining nearby nervous systems through a phenomenon called physiological synchrony. Moments later, the same juniors who clutch their hair start moving like chess pieces in a well-rehearsed opening. Calm, in crisis, isn't passive. It's contagiously active. Leah's composure wasn't luck. Every Sunday she journals a premeditatio malorum, a thought experiment mapping worst-case scenarios. Tech glitches, regulatory freezes, sudden leadership vacuum. She pairs each with a ready action so her mind greets disaster like an expected guest. When Globex's system failed, her neural pathways didn't search for a plan. They snapped to one. Modern psychologists call this implementation intention. If X occurs, I do Y. The Stoics invented it 2,000 years ago. Attention is finite real estate. In turmoil, people lease their mental square footage to whoever promises safety. Leah's measured voice cut through trader babble like a lighthouse horn. Sparse. Specific. Here's the next step. That clarity created what behavioral economists term a certainty premium. Clients forgave temporary losses because her tone projected eventual gains. 3 rival firms bled accounts that week. Leah's desk gained 2 high-net-worth transfers, citing trust under fire as the reason. Adopt Leah's on-the-spot ritual. When crisis strikes, take 2 deliberate breaths before responding. The first breath cools the limbic flare. The second primes the prefrontal cortex for strategic choice. Those 4 seconds feel like slackening the drawstring on panic's hoodie. Suddenly, your head fits through. 48 hours after the flash crash, a finance blog runs a piece titled, "Unknown Strategist Saves $400 million in Client Assets." Comment sections spin rumors. Leah's a secret algorithm whisperer, a Navy veteran, a Zen monk. None are true, but notice how calm invites legend. People fill silence with awe. By Friday, competitors circulate offers. Speaking bureaus request her story. She declines most, accepting only a webinar where she credits basic Stoic drills, not superpowers. Paradoxically, humility intensifies intrigue. Leah later admits to a friend that her knees shook under the desk. Stoicism never bans emotion. It frames it. Marcus Aurelius fought border wars while writing about keeping one's inner citadel unbreached. Leah's fear never crossed her ramparts because she labeled it, breathed through it, then pointed it toward action. Viewers sense that authenticity. It reads as strength, not stone. 2 months on, a regulatory hearing dissects the Globex glitch. Board members invite Leah for testimony, bypassing her boss. Backstage, journalists swarm, hoping for sound bites. She offers concise facts, no blame game. Her calm now shapes policy. That's the trajectory from private practice to public demand. Calm isn't just a shield, it's a growth engine. Tonight, list 3 plausible crises in your domain: data breach, public backlash, supply failure. For each, craft a 2-step containment plan and a 1-sentence client assurance. Read them aloud every Monday. You're not manifesting doom, you're insulating your nervous system. When the sirens wail, your voice will cut through like Leah's, low, directive, impossible to ignore. But commanding a room in chaos is only half the art. Once calm has everyone leaning in, what do you say to keep them there? In the next trait, we'll sharpen your words into diamond-cut lines that pierce doubt and glitter long after you've left the room. Keep watching. London, November 3rd. Drizzle silvers the windows of a 30-story glass tower where 9 executives crowd a boardroom, debating a joint venture worth £800 million. Figures volley back and forth like tennis balls. Projected synergy ratios, amortization schedules, antitrust landmines. The air thickens with corporate jargon until every sentence starts to sound like the one before. Then Julia Chen, counsel for the smaller firm, clears her throat. A junior associate kills the slide deck. The room's only light comes from overcast sky. Julia folds her notes and speaks a single sentence. We'll proceed if the non-compete expires in 3 years, not 5. Full stop. The silence feels electric, the kind that makes even the HVAC hesitate. A partner from the larger firm blinks, ready to launch a 30-point rebuttal, but Julia's stillness steals his momentum. Sparse words have created an attention vacuum, and everyone leans in, waiting to see whether she'll fill it. She doesn't. Instead, she sips water and lets the numbers scroll in their minds. 3-year sunset means market freedom, quicker innovation, a fairer split of risk. Stoic surgeon's cut, just 1 clause removed, yet the whole contract exhales. When the opposing counsel finally responds, his voice bears the soft edges of recalculation, not resistance. By meeting's end, the non-compete is trimmed, the deal survives, and journalists later credit Julia's razor-sharp intervention. She answered with 16 words in a 90-minute meeting and shifted £800 million. Neuroeconomist George Lowenstein's research on information gaps proves that people feel a surge of curiosity when they sense incomplete data, especially after a concise remark. Julia's line cracked open such a gap. Why 3 years? What do we gain? The room's desire to close that gap pulled attention toward her like gravity. Modern psychology calls this salience compression. Shorter messages demand less cognitive bandwidth to decode, so the brain flags them as higher priority. Stoic thinkers knew it intuitively. Seneca wrote letters as short as a paragraph, trusting recipients to ponder rather than skim. Julia's brevity isn't genetic, it's drilled. Every morning she rewrites yesterday's journal entry, cutting at least 20%. I felt frustrated when, frustration rose when. This daily trim teaches her brain that fewer syllables can hold the same or greater charge. Over months, she internalizes a 3-question filter before speaking. 1. Necessary. Does the room truly need this data? 2. Accurate. Could a skeptic poke holes in it? 3. Unforgettable. Will the wording lodge in memory? If any answer is no, she edits on the spot or stays silent. Microseconds of pause may feel risky in fast debates, but they buy clarity and project control. Listeners interpret pauses as poise, not indecision, when your posture stays anchored and your gaze steady. Spartan warriors were notorious for one-line responses, hence, Laconic. When Philip II of Macedon threatened, "If I invade Laconia, you will be destroyed," the Spartans sent back a single word: "if." That stoic brevity won more psychological ground than a scroll of threats. Julia's tactic channels that tradition. Her modern battlefield is legal negotiation rather than spearline, but the principle stands: speak briefly, aim true. Set a daily cap of 12 words for one outbound email. Example: need budget approval today. Green light unlocks vendor payment this week. You'll feel resistance. Context feels safer. But watch how fast recipients respond. Constraint forces clarity. Clarity magnetizes action. MRI studies from Carnegie Mellon show the default mode network activates during brief silences, prompting deeper reflection. Julia's pauses aren't empty. They're cognitive stage lighting, spotlighting her previous sentence. In loud rooms, a withheld word can ring louder than a shouted paragraph. Think of each pause as the rest in a musical score. Remove it, and the melody blurs. Days after the merger closes, Julia gets invited to keynote a fintech summit. The organizer confesses, "We couldn't forget the 3-year line." Diamond-cut speech echoes because it's portable. Listeners can quote it without cliff notes. That portability multiplies influence across rooms she never enters. Tonight, condense a life story, your own or a famous figure's, into 5 sentences, maximum 12 words each. Read it aloud. Notice how meaning survives compression when verbs stay strong and fluff evaporates. Words sparse, but posture speaks paragraphs. Julia's shoulders remain level, chin parallel to table, palms visible. A non-verbal promise. I hide nothing, so I fear nothing. Harvard's 2024 study on power proxemics found that speakers who combine verbal brevity with open gestures score 28% higher on perceived credibility. What if the other side weaponizes silence, refusing to engage? Julia's backup. A single follow-up question that forces specificity. Which metric makes 5 years essential? Questions framed in neutral tone and lean syntax compel the opponent to fill the space, shifting pressure back without escalation. Think of language as a gemstone mine. Most diggers haul out tons of rubble for a few carats. The diamond-cut speaker removes rubble at the mouth of the mine. Listeners handle only brilliance. Light refracted, not dirt. Precision in speech carves paths. But how do you keep those paths protected from foot traffic that tramples your well-cut agenda? Next, we'll see how warmth plus an iron fence of boundaries turns every interaction into safe, high-value terrain. Don't miss it. Saturday, 6:42 p.m, rooftop charity gala, city lights shimmer like confetti, a string quartet soars through Vivaldi, and conversation flows in neat champagne arcs. You've just stepped off the elevator when a well-connected donor intercepts you with a velvet smile. "Could you MC our next event? We're desperate, and everyone says you're impossible to refuse." Compliment wrapped in a trap. Old reflexes twitch. Say yes. Earn goodwill. Sleep later. But tonight you invoke a Stoic mantra. If I am to act, let it be in harmony with my own nature. Your nature, after a grueling 70-hour week, craves restoration, not applause. You answer with warmth, not loopholes. "I'm honored you thought of me. I won't have the bandwidth to do it justice, but I'd be happy to brainstorm names who'll shine on that stage." Tone gentle, stance squared. The donor's surprise flickers, then morphs into respect. A clear no delivered with a yes to help is disarming. You introduce her to a rising speaker across the room, and within minutes, they're exchanging details. Boundary held, kindness intact. Social capital actually expands. Proof that saying no can fertilize a larger yes. Evolutionary psychologists note that humans gauge worth through costly signaling. The more selective an individual is with scarce resources, time, energy, attention, the more others perceive those resources as valuable. Your boundary functions like an ultra-fine filter. What passes through gains prestige simply by surviving selection. This is the allure behind exclusive clubs, limited edition drops, and yes, people who decline politely yet firmly. In Stoic terms, Epictetus taught that true wealth is autokeia, self-sufficiency. When you decide where your energy flows, you live rich even without gold. Observers feel that sovereignty. It reads as irresistibly confident because it's rare. Most folks leak energy through porous yeses, then scramble to plug holes with caffeine and resentment. The empathy fence blueprint. 1. Warm opener. I appreciate you reaching out. 2. Hard fact. I'm committed to X and Y that week. 3. Value redirect. Here's an alternate resource name link you might love. This triad zigzags the request away from your plate while leaving the asker fed. Neuroscience backs the power of redirect. Functional MRI studies, UCLA 2022, show that solution-oriented refusals trigger far less amygdala activation in recipients than flat rejections, preserving rapport. Sarah, a senior software architect, found junior engineers booking quick advice calls that ballooned into free tutoring marathons. Her deliverables slipped. She felt both used and guilty. She drafted a mentor office hour rule. Fridays, 3 to 5 p.m. Group Q and A only. She posted it on Slack and calendar-gated her availability. At first, juniors grumbled. Exclusivity stings. 2 cycles later, attendance soared, questions sharpened, and Sarah's own workload realigned under deadline. Company productivity reports logged a 17% faster sprint velocity, a quantifiable dividend from a single fence. Before accepting new commitments, wait 24 hours. This breathing room rebalances dopamine after the social approval hit of an incoming ask. Write the request on paper. Beneath it, list impact, effort, alignment. If 2 of 3 feel weak, craft a kind number. Over time, the buffer rewires the default answer from reflex yes to reflective choice. Myth 1. Boundaries offend. Reality. Vagueness breeds resentment faster than a clear limit. Myth 2. Kindness equals availability. Reality. Kindness without capacity erodes trust when you inevitably drop balls. Myth 3. Boundaries are fixed forever. Reality. They flex with context. You might babysit a friend's child during crisis, but not for routine errands. Marcus Aurelius reminds us we command intentions, not outcomes. You can't control whether people sulk after your no, but sulk management isn't your task. By focusing on how you refuse, calm voice, eye contact, redirect, you uphold virtue. Their reaction lives outside your circle of influence. Family pressure. I love our family traditions. This year I'll join dinner but not host. Here's a potluck sign-up I created so no one carries the load alone. Work scope. Creep. That feature overlaps with mine, but adding it will delay quality. We can bundle it next sprint or rescope the current tasks. Your call. Friendship favors. Road trip sounds epic. My budget's tight though. Let's plan a local hike instead. Notice each script offers a bridge, not a wall. Bridges preserve relationship equity while defending energy reserves. Once a week, score your boundary muscle on a 1 to 5 scale. Domain, clarity 1 to 5. Enforcement 1 to 5. Emotion after. Work, family, social. Low clarity, define the line. Low enforcement, practice a scripted refusal. Negative emotion, journal the guilt narrative and counter it with stoic reason. Your worth is not measured by exhaustion. What if the requester guilt trips? Repeat the boundary like a calm echo, minus defender's stance. I hear it's urgent. My capacity is still maxed. Here are 2 other avenues. Consistency teaches others you're ungameable. Over time, they stop testing the fence and start respecting the garden. 12 months of disciplined yes-no transforms reputation. People preface asks with, I know you're selective, but already filtering trivial items. Meanwhile, genuine opportunities that align with your mission rise because stakeholders trust you won't overpromise. This is the scarcity halo effect in play. Selective availability boosts perceived expertise and desirability. Tonight, identify 1 open yes draining you. Craft a warm boundary email. Thank, state limit, offer alternative. Hit send by noon tomorrow. Record how your body feels. lighter. That sensation is reclaimed bandwidth. Holding firm borders lets your energy pool, but where does that stored power go? In the next trait, we'll explore the art of silent mastery, growing skills off stage until the curtain lifts and you appear unstoppable. Stick around. Before sunrise, the city is a hush of sodium street lamps and distant garbage trucks. But in a fifth-floor studio above an all-night bodega, Ava Delgado is already 200 lines deep into a Python notebook. By day, she's a mid-level marketing manager drowning in banner ad click-through reports. By dawn, she's reverse engineering a machine learning model that predicts customer churn with eerie precision. No LinkedIn post, no hashtag rise and grind selfie, just the low glow of code and coffee. She calls these sessions ghost hours because only ghosts witness the work. Her laptop, her cat, and the occasional siren sliding past. 3 months later, the global VP of marketing storms into headquarters, face crimson, quarterly numbers tanked, ad spend ballooned with little return. "We need answers in 48 hours, he barks. Teams scramble for PowerPoints. Ava keeps her head down, plugs headphones in, and quietly runs her churn model against the latest data. The algorithm pinpoints 3 audience segments bleeding revenue like punctured pipes. She drafts a summary, 2 pages, plain language, action steps, and drops it in the shared drive under a neutral name, Retention Prototype. 42 hours in, the VP trudges back, voice raw from marathon meetings. "Anyone have something that actually works?" A junior analyst pipes up. "There's a doc from Ava you might see." The VP clicks, scans, then reads aloud the projected savings. 20 minutes later, Ava stands in a war room full of executives, sneakers still damp from morning rain. "Walk me through this," the VP says. She does. Concise, confident. No one knew she could code, let alone wield predictive analytics. Implementation begins that afternoon. By month's end, revenue bleeds halt and reversal begins. The rumor mill spins. Does she moonlight at Google? Is she some secret prodigy? Ava smiles and returns to her ghost hours. Psychologists label the phenomenon the intrigue dividend. When hidden effort bursts into public results, observers revise your perceived capability upward by an average of 30%. Harvard Behavioral Lab 2023. Surprise flips the brain's reward circuit. Novelty plus competence feels like watching a magician pull a live dove from an empty hand. Stoics framed it differently. Epictetus urged students to practice as athletes unseen, sharpening body and mind where applause can't distort purpose. Mastery, in this view, matures in private darkness, like seeds splitting open underground. Cal Newport's deep work research shows that uninterrupted practice yields cognitive gains akin to adding 15 IQ points during the session. Ava's ghost hours replicate the deep work rule set. High stakes, high focus. She tackles one intellectually demanding task per session. No audience, phones off, socials banned. External validation can't hijack the dopamine loop. Fixed schedule, daily 5 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. slot trains her circadian rhythms to align with flow. The Stoic analogue is ascesis, rigorous exercises aimed at strengthening virtue. Marcus Aurelius drafted meditations during military campaigns, carving reflection from chaos. Ava carves code from corporate clamor. Choose a skill you crave: graphic design, Korean, public speaking drills. Commit to a 45-minute darkroom sprint 5 days a week for 6 weeks. No sharing progress until week 7. The silence forces intrinsic motivation. The reveal fuels the intrigue dividend. We're told to build in public, yet research from the University of Amsterdam, 2024, warns that broadcasting early efforts invites premature feedback that can freeze experimentation. Ava bypasses that trap. Each bug she squashes feeds competence, not content. When she finally surfaces, she's shipping value, not gathering likes. Seneca cautioned against ranting in the market square before the argument is ready. Silent mastery obeys this timing. Build privately, release when utility, not ego, demands. The irresistible aura comes from obvious competence unmarred by thirst for validation. Violinist Min Park works in finance but has practiced Paganini caprices nightly for a decade. At her firm's holiday party, the string quartet's first chair falls ill. Min steps in. Listeners expect nervous squeaks, and instead hear crystalline precision. Phones whip out. Video goes viral within the company. She's soon leading a mindfulness through music workshop for executives. Her skill wasn't a hidden agenda. It was a quietly stoked fire ready for the right draft of opportunity. Stealth can rot into isolation if feedback loops vanish. Ava schedules monthly code reviews with a trusted mentor. One person, zero fanfare, ensuring quality without public glare. The rule: private doesn't mean solo. It means selective audience. List 3 dormant or secret skills you possess. Next to each, write a potential stage where that skill solves a problem. Skill, hidden practice plan. Ideal reveal scenario, copywriting. 20 ads rewritten nightly. Company rebrand crisis. Data viz Tableau course at dawn quarterly metrics overhaul. Fluent Spanish podcast, shadowing at lunch, LATAM market expansion. Commit to the practice column for 30 days. Trust that the stage, like the VP's war room, will present itself. Dopamine spikes when effort converts into unexpected recognition. But Ava's prior ghost hours redistributed dopamine toward mastery itself, so the public praise becomes bonus, not baseline. This balance prevents the crash that afflicts chronic oversharers once likes plateau. Botanists note Philostachys bamboo spends up to 5 years growing roots before shooting 80 feet in one season. To onlookers, it's sudden. To the bamboo, it's schedule. Your silent mastery is root work. Dense, unseen, impossible to uproot once sprouted. So you've cultivated skill in the quiet and shocked the room with brilliance. But what happens when whispers about you begin to swirl? Next, we'll explore how to inoculate your reputation with a gossip vaccine, making you the confidant everyone trusts and no one dares to slander. Stay tuned. Monday, 11:56 a.m., company cafeteria. Plastic forks clatter, soda fountains hiss, and conversation clusters like bees over spilled cola. You weave past tables with your lunch tray when a coworker waves you down. Got a minute? You won't believe what Morgan's been hiding. You pause, tray hovering. This is the moment when most people lean in, pupils dilating at the scent of scandal. But your inner stoic referee blows the whistle. Is this useful? Is it kind? Is it proven? 3 strikes. You lower the tray, smile softly, and reply, "Thanks for thinking of me, but I'd rather hear it from Morgan directly." No edge, no judgment, just a clean refusal. A 2024 Stanford study on workplace cohesion found that participating in negative gossip spikes cortisol by 19% and decreases perceived trustworthiness by 17%, even among listeners who never repeat the rumor aloud. Your declination isn't moral grandstanding, it's neural hygiene. You're shielding your hippocampus from toxic data that lingers like secondhand smoke. Epictetus warned, "What injures the hive injures the bee." Gossip may feel like social glue, but it corrodes collective character. By abstaining, you protect both the hive's health and your personal virtue. Stoics call this eupatheia, good feeling born of moral clarity. Neutral acknowledgement. Sounds like there's a lot to unpack. This validates the speaker's emotion without endorsing the content. Redirect to facts. Have you spoken with Morgan about it? The question nudges them toward primary sources. Studies show that 58% of rumors die when challenged by a direct fact inquiry. Offer constructive action. If it's serious, HR can mediate. You replace whispered corridors with transparent channels, turning rumor energy into resolution energy. At fintech startup Voltage, a leaked screenshot suggested the CTO was quietly job hunting. Slack threads exploded. Instead of joining the buzz, product manager Lila posted a single message in all hands. "I've scheduled a 15-minute Q&A with the CTO at 3 p.m. so we can hear directly." Panic flipped to patience. In the meeting, the CTO clarified that the screenshot was a recruiter spam email he'd ignored. Crisis averted. Lila's stock rose overnight, not because she squashed rumors, but because she vaccinated the workspace with transparency. When juicy intel lands in your inbox, set a reminder for 24 hours before sharing or acting on it. If the information still matters and you can verify it, proceed. If not, delete. This delay lets adrenaline cool and accuracy rise. Refusal to gossip earns two reputations at once: vault and enigma. Vault, because people trust you with sensitive truths. Enigma, because you resist the easy currency of social bonding. Both reputations amplify magnetism. A 2023 Deloitte survey found managers who abstain from gossip are 32% more likely to be entrusted with confidential projects. Draw a circle on paper. Inside, list information you're certain of, direct observations, documented facts. Outside, jot every rumor or assumption swirling in your environment. For the next week, speak only from inside the circle. Notice how often your verbal load lightens and your credibility tightens. Harvard Business Review notes that sharing praise behind someone's back can lift morale. The key is intent. If your words elevate absent colleagues, the circle of control widens for good. Stoics call this sympathia, recognition of shared human dignity. Some colleagues treat gossip like oxygen. When they corner you, set the frame. I prefer to stick to confirmed info. Hope you understand. Change venue. Shift to a public space. Rumor thrives in shadows. Offer topic. Swap. Did you catch the quarterly numbers? They're wild. Most gossipers pivot if given an easier dopamine hit. Weeks of consistent rumor refusal create a halo. People pre-qualify what they bring to you. I'm not sure if this is legit. Maybe you can help verify. You've shifted culture from soapbox to fact-check kiosk. Each request you field calmly earns another notch of respect. Online, you apply the same filter. You skip rage quote tweeting unverified scandals. Instead, you might DM the original poster for sources or simply scroll past. Followers notice. Your feed becomes a refuge of curated signal, not amplified noise, driving engagement with people who value discernment. Mute or unfollow the top 3 accounts that peddle outrage without evidence. Track mood for 1 week. Expect reduced anxiety and clearer mental bandwidth. Prime soil for the silent mastery you've been cultivating. Inevitably, abstinence makes you subject. If whispers slant toward your name, channel Marcus Aurelius. Time reveals all things. Respond only with provable facts or dignified silence. Overreaction fans flames. Consistent character douses them. Repeat before meetings. I trade in verified truth. Rumor finds no purchase here. Neuroscience shows affirmations prime the medial prefrontal cortex, strengthening resolve when temptation bites. With rumors neutralized, your presence becomes a calm eye in any social storm. But presence isn't only about quiet influence. It's also about the subtle signals your body broadcasts before you even speak. Next, we'll master those micro moves that slow a room and pull eyes toward you without a single word. Stay tuned. Wednesday evening, corner elevator of a mirrored high-rise. The doors glide open on the 28th floor, where chatter ricochets off glass and chrome. Senior partners half jogging toward a quarterly earnings call, already skidding past schedule. You step in, last. Without a word, 12 briefcases shuffle to give you a shoulder-width pocket of space, though no one can explain why. You didn't clear your throat, you didn't flash a smile. You simply entered with shoulders stacked over hips, chin level, breath steady. In the 7-second ride, conversation breaks to hush. By floor 30, every eye glances your way for the unspoken cue to exit. That cue is commanding presence, micro movements that broadcast gravity before your voice arrives. Modern psychology dubs it sub-auditory status. Stoicism calls it semper rectus, to stand straight, not be straightened. Presence is kinetic credibility. Your body answers the question, why listen, before anyone else asks it. Neuroscientist David Eagleman's 2023 motion timing study found that people unconsciously assign higher authority to individuals who move 12 to 18% slower than the room average. Micro-slowness suggests surplus bandwidth. Predators, not prey, conserve energy. Try it. Next meeting, pause an extra half beat before turning your head to the speaker. Watch others sync to your tempo like orchestra strings tuning to the first violin. Marcus Aurelius marched through mud yet wrote, "Stand up straight, or be held upright." A spine aligned from atlas to sacrum is the original power pose, but pair it with kind eyes. Lift inner brow slightly, focus on the triangle between others' eyes. MRI scans, University of Tokyo, 2024, show that gaze pattern reduces perceived threat while sustaining authority. Think oak tree topped with sunrise. Micro moves that magnetize. Signal. Why it works. Drill. Palm reveal. Evolutionary cue of no weapons. Trust place notebook waist high. Palms open atop. Weight shift. Forward. Announces engagement without words. Lean 5 degrees over mid-foot when posing a question. Still. Shoulders. During listening projects, self-control invites emulation count to 4 before nodding. Vertical nod. Once single affirmation. Head bob frenzy practice in mirror. One clean hinge. Stop. Each is tiny, yet pattern them together and rooms feel subtly gravitational. You're not hijacking attention. You're tuning the room's nervous system to calmer frequency. At a biotech conference, 4 experts spoke over each other, momentum dying in tangled jargon. Then Dr. Noor Rahim, last-minute substitute, adjusted her mic once, slowly, and placed both hands flat on the table. She waited. The audience leaned forward. Panelists' voices decrescendoed. Dr. Rahim delivered 3 short sentences, each starting with a stat and ending with a directive. Blog recaps later christened her Quiet Thunder. She'd spoken 84 words, yet owned the narrative arc. Presence isn't mute. It flows into vocal tonality. Recordings show leaders who combine slower gestures with a pitch dipping 20 Hz below their default baseline trigger a 31% spike in listener recall. The Stoic woman speaks from diaphragm, not throat. Air travels farther. Words ride resonance, not volume. Practice the count to 10 slide. Recite numbers descending in pitch until your chest vibrates. Before crossing any threshold, doorway, Zoom unmute, or dinner party arch, pause 3 seconds. Use the break to roll shoulders down. Inhale, soften gaze. This pocket of stillness registers as poise. The room unconsciously tracks your entry like sonar ping. Claiming too much space screams insecurity. Claiming strategic anchors whispers command. Choose 2 touch points, chair back and glass of water. When you speak, fingertips rest lightly on chosen anchor, signaling certainty. Between points, keep arms relaxed at sides. Crossed arms block rapport, whereas limp hands leak purpose. What if someone attempts a dominance play, talking over you, crowding personal space? Stoic antidote. Re-establish verticality first. Straighten, inhale, and let silence stretch until they feel the echo of their own volume. Then respond with concise data, delivered at original cadence. The contrast, storm to still lake, often resets hierarchy without open conflict. Commanding presence modulates your own chemistry. Harvard's 2022 Power Pose replication found cortisol drops 25% after 2 minutes of expansive, grounded posture. Testosterone rises modestly, sharpening confidence. You're not faking till you make it. You're instructing physiology to support composure. Daily, stand before a mirror for 60 seconds, feet hip width, knees unlocked, spine tall, shoulders rolled back. Breathe 5 slow cycles, maintaining eye contact with your reflection's upper face triangle. Speak a single intention. I carry calm into rooms. Over time, muscle memory writes this stance into autopilot. In virtual meetings, presence shrinks to pixels. Elevate webcam to eye level. Sit an arm's length away. Use 80-20 eye lens rule. Look into camera 80% of time while speaking. 20% while listening. Slow mouse movement functions like in-room stillness. Avoid frantic cursor wiggles that signal nervous energy. For Stoics, body and reason intertwine, logos expressed through posture. When you inhabit your frame deliberately, you broadcast rational order, inviting others into the same alignment. Presence thus becomes moral architecture. You stand as column. Chaos finds fewer cracks to enter. Your stance now steers rooms and tempers tension, but even a poised figure casts shadows, scars, losses, betrayals burned into history. In our final trait, we'll uncover how alchemizing pain into guided light turns resilience into the rarest allure of all. Don't miss the transformation. Mid-February pre-dawn chill, a downtown boxing gym pulses with fluorescent hum. Heavy bags sway like pendulums, and Marcus Aurelius, once the youngest VP in her firm, drives her fists through the canvas, sweat stippling the mat. 6 months earlier, an activist short seller blew up her company's valuation. Waves of layoffs followed, including hers. Headlines framed it as mismanagement. Comment sections, cruel as ever, called her failure in stilettos. Overnight, she tumbled from keynote stages to unemployment lines, all while navigating the quiet implosion of a decade-long relationship. She could have drowned in grievance. Instead, Marisol treated each punch as translation, converting blame into biomechanics, heartbreak into hip rotation, shame into snap of wrist. Stoicism names this transmutation amor fati, love of fate. Neuroscience echoes the concept. A 2024 NIH meta-analysis shows that deliberate physical exertion paired with cognitive reframing shrinks amygdala hyperactivity by 28%, accelerating emotional processing. Every strike tells her nervous system, "I felt the blow. Now I choose its direction." Marisol's coach notices her precision, offers unpaid shifts teaching beginner classes. She accepts steady money and a chance to speak from scars rather than theories. On day one, she tells trainees, "I won't fix your pain, but I'll show you how to spend it." Enrollment surges. Word spreads to mental health forums. A local journalist profiles her as the Wall Street refugee forging confidence through combat. Opportunities ripple outward, not because she hid the downfall, but because she made it instructional. Obstacle, raw pain, layoff, breakup, diagnosis. Fuel, inner work. Journaling, sweat, therapy, study. Contribution, outer impact. Teaching, building, policy change. Seneca wrote, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave." But the test isn't private glory. It's whether the refined metal can be crafted into tools for others. Clinical psychologists call this post-traumatic growth. Trauma that, when narratively integrated, catalyzes heightened purpose. fMRI scans reveal increased connectivity between the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, meaning-making, and the posterior cingulate, self-reflection, in individuals who channel hardship into service. Pain alchemized becomes social currency. People trust those who've walked through fire and mapped the exits. Whenever setback strikes, grab a notebook. Describe the blow in one factual sentence. Name the primary feeling without judgment. List one skill the event can sharpen. Identify a person or group who could benefit from that sharpened skill. Draft the first action. Today, not tomorrow. 5 lines shift the mind from victim script to artisan blueprint. Software engineer Vikram lost his sister to a hospital dosage error. In the fog of morning, he built an open-source double-check plugin for electronic medical records. Within a year, 4 regional hospitals implemented it, halving transcription anomalies. Each bug fix felt like a conversation with his sister. Pain refactored into prophylaxis. Pain alchemy is not masochism. Stoics distinguished between acceptance and self-harm. Marisol schedules rest days. Vikram attends grief counseling. They refuse romanticization of burnout. Pain is raw ore, valuable but toxic if left unprocessed. Column A, list 3 past wounds still tender. Column B, for each, jot 1 community needing insight you earned the hard way. Column C, write a micro offer, a blog post, workshop, or volunteer hour, turning lesson into leverage. Commit to deliver one offer within 7 days. People sense unresolved hurt through micro-tension in jaw, shoulders, gaze. Conversely, alchemized pain radiates composure, musculature relaxed yet resolute, eye contact soft but unflinching. A 2025 Cambridge study found observers rated speakers with processed trauma stories as 34% more authentic and 29% more inspiring than control speakers sharing generic success tales. Roman smiths quenched red-hot steel in oil, then hammered it cold, repeating until the sword kept an edge without shattering. Your adversities are the forge. Reflection is the quench. Service is the hammer strike that seals resilience. Skip any step, and the metal stays brittle. Instead of deleting all traces of failure, Marisol pens a LinkedIn article titled, "How a Short Seller Taught Me Risk Literacy." She dissects her mistakes, outlines safeguards for peers, and links a free risk assessment template. The post garners 200K views, lands her consulting gigs, and more importantly, rewrites the public narrative, from cautionary tale to field manual. Each time her story helps a client avoid panic selling, Marisol's brain releases oxytocin, social bond hormone, turning previous cortisol spikes into connection chemistry. Pain, once isolating, now ties her to a wider tribe. When blindsided by critique in a meeting, breathe 4 counts, labeling feeling, sting. Ask a clarifying question, turning attack into data. Note the weakness exposed. Forecast assumption. Schedule a fix and, if fitting, invite the critic to collaborate. Document the improved process. Share with team. The cycle converts embarrassment into upgrade faster than the rumor mill can spin. Some will mistrust your phoenix rise. The Stoic response. Live proof over persuasion. Consistency silences suspicion. Quiet value compounds. Over time, even cynics reference your playbook. Pain alchemy equals open parenthesis. Reflection times skill. Build close parenthesis plus community impact. If reflection is shallow, multiplication falters. If community impact is 0, result stays private. Aim to raise both factors. The sum amplifies charisma. Marisol locks the gym at dawn, steps into thin February sunlight. She scrolls her inbox. 3 inquiries from fintech startups. 1 keynote invite to speak on risk, resilience, reward. She pockets the phone, smiles, not at the offers, but at the silent conversion rate of every jab she once absorbed. In her duffel sits a notebook titled Alchemy Ledger, pages inked with setbacks already spent and dividends still accruing. The next blow, life hurls. She'll file it under new raw material, because irresistible isn't armor that deflects pain. It's a crucible that burns pain clean, forging strength luminous enough to light the path for others. From crisis-taming calm to pain-forging alchemy, these 8 Stoic traits form a closed-loop power grid. Self-owned identity grounds your wiring. Crisis. Calm magnetism stabilizes the current. Diamond-cut speech directs the flow with surgical precision. Kind boundaries keep energy from leaking, while silent mastery stockpiles voltage off-stage. Your gossip vaccine insulates reputation, and commanding presence turns voltage into visible light. Finally, pain alchemy recycles every setback into fresh fuel. Master all 8, and you don't just enter a room, you reset its frequency,